This is Mark with the Dark United Front Facebook fan page, and I am here with Eric Wagner, formerly of Trouble and now The Skull. Eric, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm good. Day's just starting out, and I'm already ready for a nap.
I can understand that. Okay, first question: what was it that made you decide that you wanted to pursue a career in music?
I don't know. I mean, I remember being 7 and my cousin pulled me into her bedroom and played Nowhere Man for me.
Nice.
That was kind of a start. And when I was a kid, too, or little, they used to have those stupid Elvis movies on Saturday night, so I got to stay up and watch them. And when he came sliding down that pole at Jailhouse Rock, I'm kind of like, I think in my head going, that looks like a good job.
That's great. That's great. I know that you're a huge Beatles fan, and more specifically of John Lennon. Were you more drawn to his lyrics and songwriting ability, or more to the way he viewed the world through his eyes?
Well, actually, kind of just started that stuff later. It was his lyrics and his voice. It just kind of cut through, and I don't know. Like I said before, I was like 7. My cousin goes, come here, I got something to play you. And nowhere, I don't really remember much from back then. You know, you remember little scenes and all, but
Right.
obviously music was already a part of things at that time, and that song just struck a chord with me, I guess. I mean, when I hear it today, I know what he's saying. I understand what he means in that song. You know?
Right. Right.
I related to it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way about Don McLean's American Pie. That's the very first song that I ever remember hearing, and it's just still to this day when I listen to it, I can identify it. Okay, Trouble really stood apart from most of the other heavy metal bands of the 1980s. The lyrical content of the songs and playing Black Sabbath style of heavy metal as opposed to the more aggressive style of the speed metal and thrash bands. Songs like Assassin and Fear No Evil, in my opinion, are great examples. Was it ever a conscious decision on the part of the band while the band was starting to be different from bands such as Merciful Fate, Slayer, and Venom, among others?
Kind of like the same kind of music. We were both like right at that time getting it, listen to Sabbath and Deep Purple and
I think I read something UFO.
all that stuff, and we just played heavy. He was into Tony Iommi and Blackmore were his guys, and that's just what we liked, and lyrically at that time, this was the early stuff going on. All those bands that you were talking about were singing like kind of satanic stuff, and even though they weren't really the guys themselves, but
Yeah.
I couldn't do it.
Right.
So I probably said just as many Satans and everything in my songs as they did actually, but it just always had a little positive turn to it.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. I have read that you had your share of personal demons that you dealt with during Trouble's early years. If you don't mind me asking, what were the nature of those demons and what pulled you through them?
I was just some dude from, outside of Chicago, and all of a sudden here we're making records and being in the town that I was, I used to call it fringe benefits, but it really is. I just got caught up in all that shit, doing coke and stuff, and
Right.
That's why The Skull was so depressing. It took me years to listen to that record again.
Really?
And now it's like I think it's the heaviest record we ever did, actually.
Right, I agree.
And end of my days. So I went through this stuff with the band. It's not easy when you go on tour and everybody's waiting to party with you and shit, and it was kind of tough sometimes. If you want to not do something, you can't really go where it is.
Right, I agree.
Which I kind of do today in a way, and
Yeah.
but it's still kind of tough because I got to watch the shots, and I come into the club or place we're playing, everybody wants to party with you. And,
Yeah.
hey, man, you want a shot?
Yeah.
And I'm like, at first I used to say okay. And,
Yeah.
And then I had no business being on stage then, so I'm like, you know what, these people come to see us, and I just have to say no.
Right, right. Yeah, I met you actually last year at the Scottsdale, Arizona performance, and you were very much in control of yourself and weren't really partying too hard. You definitely had your wits about you. And that's a true degree of professionalism right there.
Well, I can do a lot of damage in a couple hours.
I can relate to that. I have read that, if I understand correctly, Trouble's demo that was put out prior to Psalm 9 was a recorded live performance. What was the reasoning behind doing it that way as opposed to recording songs in the studio for the demo?
I don't know. I mean, we set up a live. We played the show at home, and we just recorded it. And we ended up making a cassette of it, and Brian Slagle of Metal Blade heard it. We didn't really do a lot on purpose, we just were having fun, and we were in a band, and we recorded a demo before, and there's a missing link there somewhere. I don't know how we got from that demo to the Tempter,
right?
But we did somehow, and me personally, I don't really, I hate doing demos. They just take forever, and they usually suck, So after that, I was usually just, when I was writing or something, I would just bring my boombox to rehearsal and just set it in the middle of the room and go ahead, put the song on it, and I go home and write to it,
Yep.
It's just a lot better to me. It was live, so.
Yep. I definitely, I can see that. Trouble has played with such bands as Slayer, Megadeth, King Diamond, and Pantera, among others. Was it a conscious decision to play with those bands to prove that you guys could hold your own against bands that are at the complete other end of the spectrum? And any good stories stemming from those shows with those bands that you can talk about?
No, we got. Hey man, you want to go on tour with King Diamond? Oh, okay. That was like the first tour. We did a couple small little things earlier, but that was like our first tour. And we got asked to do it. I think King Diamond. I don't even remember how we got that tour. Usually the bands that took us out liked us.
Right.
Like Phil from Pantera, he's a huge Trouble fan. How can we pass that up? You want to tour with Pantera for 3 months? Okay.
Why not? I got nothing better to do.
We were both on Metal Blade, so we did a few things together. And I think the one tour was the Ramones that.
Oh, you're kidding?
That was kind of a weird lineup, and that was really where we learned how to play, because we knew if we didn't go out there and kick ass, that the Ramones fans were going to eat us up.
What was the response like?
Well, it ended up great. The Ramones at first didn't even want us on the tour. The guitar player were trying to get rid of us, and then by the end of the tour, they wanted us to stay. So. We were already committed to, I think, the Sabotage tour at that point. This is 1990.
Right.
So, like I said, we got a great response on it, because we just went out there and played our heaviest tunes, and just made sure we kicked ass and we were good, and we got a great response. And speaking of, the Ramones, it was kind of funny, because they ordered Domino's pizza every day before the show.
That's great. There's this story regarding James Hetfield and Kirk Hammett from Metallica attending a Trouble gig back in the 1980s. I believe it was in Chicago, and asking what was the secret to that awesome Trouble sound. Did that actually happen? And if it did, what do you remember about that?
It did happen. It was in San Francisco, actually.
Oh, okay.
And after the show, I think it was James's birthday or some shit. We were the first time we met them guys. And both him and Kirk came up on stage after we were done, asking Bruce about stuff and the amps and shit, and all that. And I believe then their next record was actually the Black One, I think.
Oh, okay.
I can't. It's right around in that time, 87,
Okay.
88, you
Okay.
know, so after that we went to Deaf American. Actually, I think our album came out before theirs.
Yeah.
Or we were, like I said, it's a little fuzzy. I'll never forget, even though I can't remember.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, yeah. If I remember correctly, I think it was like a.
True, yes.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Okay, Trouble was briefly on Deaf American Records on the Deaf American Records roster in the early '90s. Why did it end up only being for 2 albums?
You know, after Manic, we just felt like that we were getting a little lost on
Right.
that album. There was a couple of mistakes made, and Ruben was he's a weird guy. Like, I love him to death. He taught me so much about recording and arranging and stuff like that. But, you know, him, he's always like off doing something else then, and we just felt like we were starting to get left behind a little bit.
Yeah.
So we thought that it would be best if we just moved on
Right.
to a label that was going to pay attention to us more.
Right.
I think we ended up signing with a German label. It was like Capital, EMI or whatever owned them or whatever, and they
Okay.
were huge Trouble fans, and we did Plastic Greenhead with them then.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, so yeah, that's about it.
Oh, okay. You left Trouble at the end of the 1990s to form Lid. Was it because you had grown tired of being in a metal band, or was it because you had always wanted to try something different musically and see where it went?
Well, I wasn't so much a metal band, really, but at that point, I think we were all on each other's nerves, touring. We just did like 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 albums, touring, and we just weren't really getting along and stuff at that point. I think we were just a little sick of each other, and I always wanted to do something on my own too. So
Mm-hmm.
I just thought after that tour we did to finish Plastic Greenhead that was just a perfect time to do it. And after I did the Lid album, I just kind of ran away from the music business for about 5 years. I didn't write, I didn't do anything.
Okay.
You know, until Dave Grohl came calling with that Probot thing.
That contribution to that album, sir, is pretty monumental.
Well, thank you.
Okay, well, you kind of answered my next question, but I'll just go ahead and pick apart the last part. Was it really that what was needed? Was that break away from the guys in Trouble for you guys to be able to reunite and start recording and performing live again?
Well, maybe. You know, everything happens for a reason, even though you don't think so at the time.
Right.
It's just how things are. But like I said, Dave came calling with that Probot thing, and at first I didn't even know if I could write. I think I sat with a blank piece of paper for a couple weeks, actually. So I blame him for getting me back in.
Well, I'm glad he did, sir.
So, you know, after I did that, I had the itch, and I called everybody up, and we kind of kissed and made up, and
That's great.
and let's do another record and a tour. And
Mm-hmm.
by the end of that one, it was the same stuff. I was just tired of playing the same songs every night.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just starting to become routine. And you know, as
A job.
me, I don't like living in the past so much, and just on those songs and everything. I always want to do something new.
Right.
And it was just time to
Yeah.
move on at that point.
I understand. I absolutely love the BLACKFINGER album. How did that project come about, and why was it short-lived?
Well, actually, it's not short-lived.
Okay.
That one, it was like after I left Trouble, I was like, well, what am I going to do? So I just kind of locked myself in I was living in a studio right then. I just locked myself in the room and just started writing. A lot of things were coming at that point. A lot of shit was going on, and I just grabbed people that I knew from home. You know, the label wanted me to get like guys from other bands, like guest guys, and I don't like doing that. I like
Right.
being in a band.
Right.
So I got friends of mine that I grew up with that played in bands that used to back us up and all that stuff, and ended up doing that record. But then I moved to Pittsburgh,
Okay.
and I got friends here too that, and actually the one drummer he was on our Plastic Greenhead tour was from here, and he kind of talked me into So
Okay.
I got all new guys,
Great.
and that's what I've been doing this year, is writing a new BLACKFINGER record,
Great.
besides touring with the Skull.
Uh-huh.
So now it's finished. The album's written, recorded the demo and everything, and I'm going to walk away and do the Skull tours coming up here, and when I get home, we're going to record it. I'll do a new BLACKFINGER album.
I can't wait for it, sir. I can't wait. The song for One More Day to me sounds like something that one of your influences, Roger Waters, could have written and recorded during the Wall and Final Cut period. The song structure and lyrics make me think that instantly every time I hear it. Have you ever written and recorded a song that you wanted to have the same exact vibe and feel as another band or artist because you were that much of a fan of that band or artist?
No, not really. We never really did, or I didn't do anything on purpose. I mean, obviously everybody has their influences, and Roger Waters is a huge one.
Yeah,
You know,
I can see why.
The way he phrases his lyrics and his songs and stuff, and it wasn't on purpose or anything. It's just that I was sitting there, I was done with the song. It took a while to write it, and when we were recording it, I know a couple people said, "Man, it reminds me of Floyd," you know.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, maybe, you know. I didn't do it on purpose or anything. It's just that's what came out
Yeah.
for that particular song. You know?
Yeah. No, it's become one of my most favorite songs. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites on that album, and we never played it live with the first. I don't want to call it Mach 1 because that's Purple, but with the first BLACKFINGER. But with the second one, I told the guys already if we go out and play or whatever, I'd like to do that song.
That's great. I can't wait to hear it and see it. Okay, what was the genesis of the Skull? Was it just to get together and play in a band with Jeff again and have fun and see where it went?
Well, actually, BLACKFINGER was playing Milwaukee Days of the Doom Fest.
Okay.
And Ron, with his band Earth and Grave, and Ole with Retrograve were there. And so I invited them up on stage with BLACKFINGER at the end of our set. And we did like 4 or 5 Trouble songs. Mm-hmm. And it was like we were all going, hey, this is, you know, it was kind of felt good. It's been a long time at that point. I think it was 2011. And so I emailed Ron first, I guess. I go, hey, man, I think I might start a tribute band.
Okay.
He's like, what are you talking about? You want to be involved?
Right.
What are you talking about? I said, a tribute to Trouble. I look and sound exactly like the singer. And you and Ole, it's weird, look exactly like the bass player and the drummer. So we were like, well, I don't know, maybe, you know. So we thought that we were going to go out and just play them first albums.
Uh-huh.
Because Trouble really didn't do those anymore too much, and we thought to just separate ourselves from them. And you know, I think we were gonna name the band either the Skull or Psalm 9.
Right.
We chose Skull, and we just did songs from like those 2 albums. And actually, I think at first we did a few from Classic Greenhead because that was the only album that Ole, Ron, and myself played on together.
Right. Okay.
So we did some from that album too, and that's all we did, just played the heavy ones, you know. And all of a sudden, we're standing on stage in Germany at Hell's Pleasure Fest, you know, and here we are, 2016, with an album out and touring, and we're getting ready for the Vitus tour. And next year, we're going to be working on a new Skull album.
Awesome. Yeah,
Strange how things happen.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I really quickly, I got to tell you, I listened to a few interviews of Jeff's show, and that dude is pretty funny, man. He is really pretty funny, and I love the story about the van accident out in California when you guys went out to record Psalm 9, and him ditching a little something off the side of the road. You know, I thought that was a really funny story, and the way you guys talked about it was just, I was dying laughing about that. Okay. To me, for those which are asleep, was the best heavy metal album of 2014. I have talked to a few old school Trouble fans, and they have said that if they want to hear the real Trouble, they listen to the Skull. Have you heard similar things from the fans? And if you have, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I hear that all the time. I mean, I'm sure I have a lot to do with it. I sang for them, on all those early albums and stuff. And me too. I mean, it's like Sabbath. I was an Ozzy guy, when Dio joined. I hated it, actually.
Uh-huh.
But now listening to, like, Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules, those were awesome records. But at that point, I grew up with Ozzy.
Right.
7, 8 records or whatever they did. So I know people, they like the original singer, they like that, and, like I said, I'm the one who wrote those lyrics and sang those songs, and so I think that has a lot to do with it. I'm really not the greatest singer on earth or anything, but when I open my big mouth, people know who it is.
Absolutely.
So I think that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, your vocals are definitely, more memorable than like Corey Clark's or, somebody like that,
That one, I don't really get that one at all.
I was like, are you kidding me?
No comment, really.
I got you. What are the current plans for the Skull as of right now today?
Well, right now on Saturday, we're taking off to do the St. Vitus tour around the States. And then I come back for a few days and we head over to Europe.
Okay.
For like 2.5 weeks. And then we're done. We've been touring a lot this year on that album. And then we're just going to take a break from touring. And in the new year, we're going to start working on a new record. We'll probably do like some one-off festivals, stuff like that, but no touring next year.
Okay.
We need to concentrate on a brand new record first, I think.
Okay. Besides St. Vitus, have there been any other well-known heavy metal bands that have wanted to tour with the Skull?
I don't know. I mean, we've been pretty much just headlining, doing some festivals. I think we're going to play Hammer Doom again in Germany. So people are looking at us. We're actually not really Trouble. We're a new band, but everybody knows I'm the singer and Ron is the bass player, and so people have been kind of booking us on that too.
Okay.
So we really, I don't know. I think we got a couple offers that we said no to, that it would just be better for us to headline. But the St. Vitus thing came along, and St. Vitus and the Skull it's going to be a great tour.
Yeah, absolutely. What is Eric, in brief, what is Eric Wagner's philosophy on life in general? Is it still based a lot on your own personal faith?
Well, people always used to say, we're a Christian band and all that shit. That was Metal Blade saying that.
Mm-hmm.
And religion, to me is man-made.
Okay.
More spiritual.
Right.
And people, when they say, I believe in God, I think that word believe means you have doubt.
Mm-hmm.
So I know there is.
Right.
Like I said, religions, it's just a bunch of bullshit to me. All they do is fight and argue over who's right, and even kill people over it, which I think is ridiculous, because if you do read the book, there's no such thing in there.
Right.
And if you do, and it has a happy ending.
Right.
So everybody's just in a big arguing with each other and worried over everything that's happening. And me, I'm just like kicking back, and I think the only obligation you really have in life is to be true to yourself.
Right.
And after that, everything kind of flows out from there. And if everybody really did that, just worried about themselves first, instead of sticking their nose in other people's business and all this bullshit that we see today.
Yep.
I think maybe things would be a lot better.
Yep.
So, like I said, I'm just having a good time and relaxing, dealing with my world and my life, and if I can influence people in a certain way, in a positive way, then that's great.
All right, great. All right, just last question, kind of way off topic, but how did you get involved with breeding German Shepherds, and do you still do it as of today?
No, I don't really do it anymore. I don't know. I bought my first dog, and I met the guy that was one of the main breeders, and I just started getting into it, the bloodlines and
Yeah.
training protection dogs and things like that. And,
Yep.
there was a lot of politics in that too, and I'm not a big fan of politics either. I
Right.
actually hate it.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of started breeding them, and it was always cool when people came to get puppies and stuff, and
Right.
word of mouth,
Yeah.
and my reputation meant more than just breeding dogs together.
Yeah.
So I don't even have one right now.
Okay.
I stopped doing it a few years ago, but
Okay.
when I'm done touring and in a band and stuff, I want my one last little puppy I want to raise.
That's awesome, man. Well, I'm a huge dog fan myself. I got my my dachshund Hendrix Rhodes over here right now, kicking it with me or whatever. So I definitely I'm a huge dog fan myself. So I can completely understand. Eric, it has been an honor to speak with you today, sir. Thank you so much for taking the time to go ahead and speak with Just a Fan, who just runs a fan website and blog. Again, it really does mean the world to me, and I appreciate your time and your willingness to go ahead and do that. That's very generous of you, and I really appreciate it, sir.
Well, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. It's cool that people still want to hear what I got to say.
Yeah. Well, you always have.
Freaks me out even, actually, to be honest with you.
Well, you know what, man? You've always come across as very articulate, and as somebody that has actually something legitimate to say. So, I've always enjoyed listening to your not only your music but your thoughts on things. So, again, thank you so much, sir, and the much more continued success. I'm so glad that you're continuing to be out there.
You have a good day, man.
You too, sir. Take care and be safe.
All right.
Bye bye.